Hello everybody, Kelly Rice here, but I write under my pen name KM Rice, and welcome to the first vlog of December 2017. I apologize for the little unintended hiatus I took around Thanksgiving and after Thanksgiving. That was because for the first time in my adult life, I was literally the classic person sick in bed, unable to do anything for a week. And I've been so fortunate that that is the only time in my adult life that I can remember ever being that sick. And the whole time I was just thinking, God, my heart really goes out to all of you warriors who are battling chronic illness of any kind. Because even though I was sick with a bad fever and everything that comes with it, I knew that I would get better. And when you have a chronic illness, you know that, I'm sure you will improve to some extent, but I can't imagine knowing that the battle is going to be longer than just a virus. So my heart goes out to all of you. You guys are awesome. Since it is December, it is the season of giving, and I just wanted to remind you that you can now get a hard copy of The Watcher. There's Draven, looking a little smoldering on the cover. Artwork by Hobbit concept artist Lindsay Crummett. And I have these in my Etsy shop. They're going pretty fast. I think I only have 4 or 5 left. And if you want an autographed one, go ahead and purchase it from me. If you want one that isn't autographed, then you can get it off of Amazon or Barnes & Noble. And if you want an ebook, you can always read that on Kindle, or it's now also available on iBooks. So, I just wanted to remind you guys as well that the Darkling 2nd edition is out, and if you were thinking about giving it as a gift, you could potentially gift the audiobook. I know that sounds strange, but I believe Audible has a way for you to purchase it as a voucher to give to someone, and then you'll give them a code. You could put it in a Christmas card or something like that, and they could download the audiobook, and then you could give them the Watcher. I'm trying to improve some marketing skills here. I don't know if it's working. But if you guys do follow me on social media, you'll know that I had a recent little jaunt over to Ireland. I only went to one location, and that was the Dingle Peninsula. It was named by National Geographic Traveler the most beautiful place in the world at one point in time. I'm not saying that the most beautiful place in the world changes. I said at one point in time because I awkwardly realized I didn't remember the date that National Geographic Traveler called it that. But while I was there, I took lots of photos, and I compiled them all into a little calendar. You see this calendar here? Now, the Dingle Peninsula is in County Kerry in Ireland. It's the southwest of Ireland. And it happens to be not happens to me, I just told you National Geographic Traveler calls it the most, now I'm really stuttering, the most beautiful place on Earth. And I'll speak slower so that I don't stutter as badly. I had a stuttering problem when I was a child, especially when reading aloud, but I've managed to get a hold of it without any professional help yet, but we'll see. What happened just there kind of set me back. Anyway, that's another tangent. So, the Dingle Peninsula is along the Wild Atlantic Way, and if anyone's been to the west of Ireland, you know that that is the route to take because it's gorgeous scenery of the Atlantic. And County Kerry is rugged, it's beautiful, it's known as the Kingdom. It's got lots of gorgeous locations, and when I was putting this calendar together, what I realized was I wanted to include scenery that you don't often see, because you always see pictures of the Three Sisters or the Sleeping Giant or, some of the more classic places. Basically the angles that you'll get from where the tour buses stop and pull over along Slayhead Drive and the other roads that comprise the Wild Atlantic Way. So I titled this calendar Celtic Countryside Off the Beaten Path. And as you can see right here, these probably, hopefully, aren't shots that you've seen before. Well, you haven't seen them before unless you follow my social media, because I took them. There's the Atlantic Ocean. That's for January. You know what, I'm just going to go through it with you guys. You get a sneak preview. Here's February. This was in some boglands. And a lot of these locations, too, aren't on tourist guides. This is in the Gaeltacht region of Ireland where they speak Irish, so a lot of them are only known to locals. March, that's at the head of Dingle Bay. April, it's a big fishing community in Dingle, so that was, and here's May. Some classic Irish countryside there, that's kind of what you expect from storybooks and all that, the stone fields and the sheep. June, this is looking out at Tralee Bay. July, love the juxtaposition of the clouds and the greenery. And that's on Slayhead Drive. August is the cover. September. Boy, I can't even remember how to pronounce it properly. Something like Vionach. My Irish isn't that good. I probably just totally butchered it, but that was an ancient site, an ancient location. This is October. Rugged coastline. November. And December. This one's probably my favorite photo. It reminds me of Hobbiton. It'll be hard to see, but you can see the little lights of Dingle town proper in the distance, right in the twilight hour, the gloaming. So you can purchase this for, I believe it's $11.99 at my Etsy shop, along with, of course, The Watcher and Darkling, The Wild Frontier, all of my books. And you may not know this, but I also have earrings for sale, and those flower crowns I showed you at some point during my vlog episode. Shenanigans. And scarves, and I am knitting some scarves currently that are not listed yet, so if you really want a scarf, then keep your eye out for those. If not, feel free to pop in, have a look. Like I said, I'm doing more than just autographing books. I'll put the link here, and I'll put it below, so all you have to do is click. And without further ado, on to today's question. I am armed with my raspberry tea, raspberry zinger to be exact. Not sure why it's zingy. Maybe there's a hint of lemon in there. It tastes like there could be. I am really gonna butcher your username. I feel slightly less bad about that than I would if it were your birth name, because it's not your birth name, but it looks like it's Dorothea Lee, or Dorothea Lie 1. And this person says, I need to improve my storytelling and my writing because I have stories I want to tell. I can't afford a college education. Could you recommend some books for self-study for writers? I love your videos, by the way. Thank you so much. This is a really great question because I think I've addressed this previously, probably in passing in my vlogs, but no, not everyone can afford not only to go to college, but to certainly not get a Master of Fine Arts in creative writing like I was fortunate enough to do. And the only reason I could afford that, basically I couldn't, but because I had really strong grades all throughout my college education, I applied for a grant from the California state government and I received it, and that covered like 75% of my tuition, and that made it so much, that made me, it made it possible for me to go to grad school. So thank you very much to the state of California, and I am doing all that I can to make sure that that investment was well placed. By doing things like writing books and making calendars, apparently. And vlogs. So, I always get, and this is the type of question that I'm often asked after writing panels and at cons and stuff, and I'm sorry, I'm being ADD. I just reminded myself to show you my shirt. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Yeah. I don't think I have ADD in real life. It's only when I'm on the internet, like on the computer, or on my phone, because now our phones are computers, or when I'm doing this vlog, it gets really difficult for me to, like, not difficult, it's just easier for me to be distracted. Maybe I do have a slight touch of it, but, this is just the episode where I reveal all my weird little tics, huh? My stutter, my potential ADD, the fact that I don't know for sure if there's lemon in this tea. It's getting lukewarm now, it's getting strange. So anyway, back on subject. I often hesitate to give people recommendations on how to write because, as I've covered probably extensively in this vlog series, I think that everyone has their own style. Something works for one person, it may not necessarily work for the other person, and that's why the more people I've talked to, especially the more writers I've spoken with, the more I realize that my particular style could be dramatically different, and that doesn't mean you have to be like me or follow my style. That's why I'm always hesitant to give that advice. Likewise, I'm hesitant to give people books and be like, yes, this is how to write, this person knows it. Even if it's Stephen King, I'm hesitant to say, yes, listen to every word Stephen King says, he knows. He obviously knows how to tell a good story. But what happens is the same thing that would happen if I were to sit you down and say, this is exactly my writing process, and you should copy it. It may not work for you. However, that said, I have read 2 books on writing that were required in my Master of Fine Arts classes. Actually, one might have been when I was an undergrad. It might have been. And I will share them with you because I remember them. The fact that I remember them means that I found something helpful in them. Or you could find that you'll read them and you'll find things unhelpful. And when you're finding them unhelpful, that can also help guide you on your path as well. It's just like everything in life. You kind of take what you need and leave the rest. So the first book about writing that I read was Bird by Anne Lamott. And what I most vividly remember from that book is her specifying that you should know the names of trees. That if you're writing and a character is passing trees, you should be able to at least say if it's a pine, if it's an oak, if it's a deciduous tree or not. And even you as the author, you should know, even if your character doesn't know. So your character might be someone who would have absolutely no knowledge of what tree species that is. But you should at least have some idea, and if there's any reason, and maybe you're an omnipotent narrator. If you're an omnipotent narrator, then you can go crazy and name every tree in the forest. But her point was to have that level of specificity in your repertoire in case you need it. Dang, I killed it. I not only pronounced it, but then I said a French word. And I don't even have my glasses. I'd get them out right now, but they're in this drawer, and I'm sitting in front of the drawer, and I'm locking them in, so you just get this. Pretend I have glasses. Yeah. The other book that I read, and my other strongest memory about Bird by Bird was that I read a lot of it on an overturned bucket, sitting in my horse's stall. Mickey was his name, while he was sleeping, and then he came over and he rested his head on me, and I was singing to him, and he fell asleep. And for those of you who have horses or have been around horses a lot, you'll know what I'm talking about. When they rest their heads on you, it's like, oh, this is so sweet and magical. If you've ever had a horse fully rest the weight of their head on you, which Mickey did as he started to fall asleep, you go, this is so sweet and magical and bonding and heavy and so heavy and it's crushing me. Oh, bless them though. They're such beautiful creatures. So, I sang Mickey to sleep. Somehow that had to do with reading Bird by Bird. I think I finished it while I was in the horse stall. The other book that I know I read in grad school was On Writing by Stephen King. I remember that book for another very specific piece of advice, and he was talking about changing up your daily routine to keep yourself stimulated. If you walk home from work or from school or whatever, walk different routes, see what you notice, or play mind games with yourself, such as pretend your life depends on writing a paragraph about the location you're at right that second, go. And his whole point was when we're in these familiar surroundings, we tend to zone out and we don't pay, much attention to what's around us. And so I remember being at my university and being like, oh my gosh, that building is khaki compared to the cream of the one next to it, and it's covered in vines, and it looks like the windowsills are chipping, and, just that sort of thing. It's a good way to practice those descriptive muscles in your brain to help build them up, and to fill your repertoire of vocabulary that you'll use later in your writing life, or maybe you'll use it right then in that moment. You will add treasures to your word hoard. Anglo-Saxon I'm more comfortable with than French. Your breast coffer. Anyway, I won't go on another tangent about Anglo-Saxon, or Old English rather, I promise. The other thing I remember really taking away from that Stephen King book that actually terrified me was the fact that he was talking about the fact that all your life experiences are like a raft. And you are sitting on those life experiences, and with every piece that you write, you're mining from them, so you're pulling up a plank from the raft. And soon you will have no raft left. So it's up to you to continuously give yourself new life experiences to keep adding on to the raft. That terrified me because I thought, there'll come a time when I run out of ideas and when I am done and don't have a raft anymore, because to me my raft was bigger and it just kept getting added onto whether I'd experienced these things in life or not. And so I think it just depends on how your imagination works. That's what made me panic, because I'm like, and I don't feel like I'm like that. But on the other hand, it's also given me a lot of permission to sort of do things in life that if I'm on the fence about, because sometimes I get on the fence and I need that extra little shove, then I can give myself permission to be like, you need this life experience, this is going to be something cool and unique, and it'll add to your understanding of the world or enrich your life, and you can always put that into writing if you need to. You know, that's kind of how I justify taking risks sometimes. If I get a story out of it, then I have had nothing lost. So if you're ever in a situation where you're like, I might make a fool of myself, or he might not actually like me, or what if I don't like the concert, or whatever it is, you will find a way to entertain yourself, and you will get a story out of it. And if you can get a story out of it, it is always a win. Okay, like always, I never learn. I have to delete an old vlog. I'll be right back. And I'm back. So to go to the other part of the question, those are two books that I can recommend. Oops, I just kicked the tripod. Apologies. Those are two books that I could recommend that I know I definitely got something out of. I do remember them sparking kind of debates in our class because some people were like, yes, this author gets it, this is the only way to go. And then there are other people, probably like me, who were like, no, that's what works for them, that doesn't mean it's going to work for us. So I remember my professor specifically being like, hey guys, I know that's come under debate recently. There's been some people who are pushing back against the term guys. I'm a California girl, born and raised. Everyone's a guy to me, okay? And I don't know if this is a generational thing or not, and yes, this is a total tangent, but I will be alone with my girlfriends and I'll be like, hey guys, come here. Guys, do you want to watch this? Guys, let's look at this. It's like dude. Dude applies to everyone. Dude doesn't even apply to a person. Dude can just be an expletive. It's like, dude. Guys, dude, come on. Of all the things to freak out about in life, dude, why are you freaking out about the word guys? So, just thought I'd throw that in there because I said it in a video that's about to go public. So, yes, my professor was like, guys, everyone, folks, students, learners, take what you need, leave the rest. If there's advice in there that's helpful to you and good for you, then take it. If it's not, then see if there's anything you can glean from it, even if it's like, well, that's the opposite of how I work, or I understand how he works or she works that way, but I don't. And then move on. And that's kind of all there is to it. So I do recommend those two books. Other than that, you have a wealth of resources now that we live in the age of the internet. So you can watch video blogs like this and learn vicariously through, hopefully through people like me who are like, hey, these are my mistakes, or this is what works for me. Here's an idea that you could do to experiment. 100% you do not need a college education, and you certainly don't need a Master of Fine Arts education. Those things help you learn what you can learn on your own faster. So, like my creative writing program was a lot of reading other people's work and critiquing it. And that's where most of my writing muscles were built. Not having my work critiqued, necessarily. So look around your area. I'm sure there are writing groups, hopefully some for free or with small fees. Even the internet. You don't even have to look around your area because you don't have to meet in person. If you can put together a group of writers or find a Facebook group or a YouTube group or something like that of writers and just pass each other's work around and maybe have 5 tenets that you're going to critique each other's work on. And it all should be constructive. But like, the main idea to keep in mind when you're reading someone's work is, does this feel authentic? Not does it seem like it could really happen, or does it seem like that's a world you want to go to, but does it feel like this character's voice is authentic to how they have been the whole story arc? Does it feel authentic to the world that they come from? Whether it's our world, the 1950s, some made-up place, So to me it all comes down to authenticity, because I learned in my creative writing experience that there will be several times that you're writing along something fictitious and then you throw in a bit of real life and it's jarring for the reader, and they might give you the criticism of, that's totally unbelievable, I don't believe that could or would ever happen. And you want to say, ah ha ha ha, it happened in real life, so you're wrong. But as my professor pointed out, that defense isn't really going to work, because what the reader is actually reacting to is the fact that feels inauthentic to the piece. So even if that happened in real life, if it doesn't congeal with the rest of your story, it might be kind of sticking out like a sore thumb. So those are the types of criticisms that I would look for and try to give to other people, because not only is it constructive and helpful, and it is just your opinion, but if you have a couple people who came to the same part in the story and were like, whoa, that totally pulled me out of it, or that felt off, then that's something that you might want to listen to. So you don't have to get a fancy education, you don't have to even get a formal education, you can teach yourself all of this stuff. Some of our greatest writers, probably most of them didn't study writing. What they did was they studied their craft, and to study your craft you don't have to go to school, you just have to be able to read. So you can pick up Homer. You can pick up the Aeneid. You can pick up Beowulf, you can pick up the classics, you can pick up Proust, you can pick up Hemingway, you can pick up, all these talented writers who have come before you, and read them and see what you think they're doing and what you like and what you don't like. Especially readers you like, because then you're going to enjoy, writers you like, because then you're going to enjoy reading it. And another exercise I can remember doing very early on is finding those writers that I really liked and mimicking them. Just even if it's a few paragraphs, just kind of be like, oh, this is what Mark Twain's doing. I'm no Mark Twain, but, I'm kind of trying to mimic his style, and you'll be learning as you do that. So the best thing you can do to educate yourself is read and write. And I know that sounds really simple, but it's the truth. And it's what we're doing. And I am at a point where I spend so much time trying to learn the business side of being an independent author, trying to get my head around marketing, which I'm really not good at, as you saw at the beginning of this vlog, trying to get myself on as many different platforms as I can, doing videos and doing author appearances and doing conventions with panels. These all take a tremendous amount of energy and time, and I often feel spread really thin. This is where I think a manager would really come in handy. But for right now, it's just me. I'm a one-woman show. And notice everything I just said had nothing to do with writing or reading. So getting the time to actually write and edit my own work and get it critiqued and get it looked at by people who I trust is a whole nother process. And what I was starting to say is what I personally worry about, since this is when I expose all my vulnerabilities apparently. Maybe that's what happens when you've been in bed with an illness for so long. You wake up and you're like, these are my weaknesses. Is I'm not doing a ton of reading. I tend to read at night, and what happens then is I fall asleep. And you guys know that I'm a big Tolkien fan. I've decided, I'm reading all the books again, and I'm a little more than halfway through the Two Towers, and I love it, but Tolkien tends to put me to sleep, but it's not, I shouldn't say that. Tolkien is very soothing to me. Tolkien does put me to sleep, but almost anything puts me to sleep these days because I'm old. So I find that in my daily life, I don't give myself permission to read in the middle of the day. I feel like I'm being lazy or not productive or whatever. And so I think, I always think of reading as the same thing as exercise. People use the same excuse. I don't have time. Well, no, you've still got 24 hours in a day just like I do. It's how you use that time. You know, it's what are you cutting out instead. Because you do have to make a sacrifice and an effort to exercise and to read. And they're both kind of habits that you need to form. So I'm at a place where I'm giving you guys all this advice, but I'm also reflecting on myself and thinking, I need to read a little bit more. I need more time to read and to let some of that come in. I also find that taking walks and hiking for me really helps me because then I can relax and it's almost meditative and let my mind wander, and then phrases and ideas will start to pop up. The same thing happens when I'm running, but it's a more gentle process when I'm walking. So I recommend getting out and moving and being in nature and just seeing what your subconscious throws at you. So I hope that answered your question. I'm sorry, I'm not going to try to say your username again because I know I totally messed it up the first time. But I hope that answers your question. It was a brilliant question. And I hope that that helps other people who are in the same boat and who don't have the time or money to go to college or to formally study writing, because it is something you can 100% do on your own. I do recommend getting help with it if you can through the support of other writers, because not only will they keep you on task and will deadlines keep you writing, but you will learn a lot by giving them some critiques and also by receiving some critiques. And you can check out the vlog I did on praise versus criticism if you are having some trouble maybe dealing or processing some of the critiques, because it can be hard at first. At first you're going to have a very thin skin, and any little thing that criticizes your work is going to feel scary. But that feeling will start to numb and it'll go away, and you'll literally get a thicker skin and it'll get easier. It gets better. So I hope that helped you. I am going to sign out with a redwood branch, a sprig of redwood leaves. So remember, pop by my Etsy shop. Here's me trying to do that marketing thing. Have a look around, see if there's anything you want. They make great holiday gifts: earrings, scarves, flower crowns, crafts, books, autographed books. And of course, if you don't want it autographed, go ahead and go get them off of Amazon. And check out my website, kmrice.com. I just redid it. Looks nice, I hope. Again, it's me doing Etsy. I have to trust myself that I know how to make things look pretty. Which I don't always. I mean, look at this. I put makeup on this. So, without further ado, from me in my redwood branch, I bid you all a very fond farewell. Please keep the questions coming. See you guys.